slide, I would like to add that I acknowledge that I live, work, and travel on the traditional lands and waters of Indigenous peoples. And wherever I may go, I do so with the utmost respect for the stewards of these territories, past, present, and emerging. And I commit to an honoring of their enduring connection to the earth, water, and all living things. Reflective navigator, finding my way in psychotherapy. When I started my career as a therapist, I was convinced that success meant always having the right answer. If my clients were resistant, I thought the issue was with them. And if they shut down, I blamed it on their unwillingness to open up. I had this idea that therapy was a straight path and that I was the expert guiding them through it. But soon I found myself stuck, unsure how to proceed. When my typical techniques weren't working, if a therapy was a journey, I was a lost sailor in my sailboat without a map, treading water, going in circles, hoping for a sign to show me the way. And then one day I had an epiphany. No, not from some mystical therapy encounter or a magic spell. I realized that being a therapist wasn't about having all the answers. It was about becoming a navigator, not one who faces a straight line, but someone who knows when to adjust course and read the signs and learn from each wave. My role wasn't to fix the person in front of me, it was to guide them using the tools of self reflection and professional insight to help them find their way. Reflection as my compass. In my early years, I misunderstood self reflection. I thought it meant sitting quietly, meditating on my mistakes, but it was far more dynamic than that. Self reflection is not about wallowing in self doubt or finding what went wrong, it's about adjusting my internal compass. I began to journal. Some days it was just a few lines of grumbling, other days it was a breakthrough. Either way, my journal became my compass, helping me see the currents of my thoughts and feelings as I navigated through the stormy seas of my clients' resistance. Though my reflective practice, I began to realize that problem wasn't just the client, it was the rigidity of my approach. I needed to be less like a rigid ship captain and more like a sailor who understands the value of navigating the waters with flex with complete flexibility. In my journal, I asked myself, what am I missing? Am I resisting this resistance? And slowly I learned to reflect. I found my responses becoming more open and adaptive, and I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was responding with initiation and intention. And this is learning to adjust course. As my reflections deepened, I recognized that therapy isn't about controlling the wind, but adjusting the sails. There were times when I thought I had the perfect answer only for it to backfire. A client would shut down and I would be floundering. But then I remembered what I had learned from my reflections and from my ongoing supervision sessions. Learning doesn't come from avoiding changes, it comes from embracing them. Like Schuler, 2015 explains, transformational learning happens when we face the difficulty head on instead of sidestepping it. I started approaching each challenging moment with curiosity rather than anxiety. Instead of worrying about fixing the client, I wondered what I could learn from them and then process. Some days therapy felt like navigating through fog. The path wasn't clear, and I had to trust that slowing down and adjusting my course was the right move. I became more comfortable with uncertainty, learning to trust that reflection process would guide me forward even when the path seemed unclear. The shift from fixing to guiding was a stable but profound change in my life. So the journey continues. Now, after years of sailing these therapeutic waters, I no longer expect a straight line or path or calm seas. Therapy, like the ocean, is ever changing. Sometimes the waters are serene, and sometimes the waves are absolutely overwhelming. The key is not to avoid the storms, but to navigate just about unloading emotional baggage. It's about building a deeper awareness of the self and the therapeutic process. It's about creating the space to pause, reflect, and adjust when things get rough. So, what does this journey look like now? Well, it's one of the consistent, constant evolution. When I think I've mastered the seas, a new current comes along, and I'm once again learning to navigate. But that's the beauty of this work. It's not about arriving at some final destination of mastery. It's about continuing to grow, continuing to reflect, and continuing to refine my craft as a guide. The waters will always change, but with self-reflection as my compass and supervision as my map, I really have learned to adjust course as needed and embracing the wounds of the journey. And let's not pretend that the journey is all smooth sailing. If anything, it's more like a journey through rough seas. I've learned that sometimes I'll stumble, and that's okay. As Kern 2014 discusses, the counselor's vulnerability, those moments of doubt and uncertainty are not weaknesses to hide. They are part of the very human experience that makes us better clinicians. Embracing these vulnerabilities doesn't diminish our professionalism, it enhances it. When I allow myself to be vulnerable in my reflections, and right in my practice, I open the door to deeper empathy and connections with my clients. In fact, I've come to think of those wounded moments as opportunities to connect with my clients on a more authentic level. After all, what are we but navigators, learning from the waves of experience and guiding our clients through their own storms? In conclusion, the metaphor of the reflective navigator is one I return to again and again in my practice. Each day I strive to adjust my sails and reflect on my course and stay open to learning from the ever-changing waters. Some days are calm, some are stormy, but with reflection in my compass, I trust that I will always find my way. And more importantly, ready to help my clients find their way. Thank you.